I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Now, I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. Good morning, David Lee, Brandon Meyer, our friendly crab fisherman from the Pacific Northwest. What's up, Kermode Bear? You might want to make friends with Brandon Meyer over there. He might have some delicious salmon left over from the nets. What's up, Joni Rankin? How you doing? Floby Tenderson is here. All the gang. P. Ridge 62, Corey and Callie, and my smoking hot red-headed libertarian wife, Stephanie Peterson, joining us as well. Howdy do. How are you? Like my shirt? Now I have a machine gun sweater. Gotta love it. I had to have one of these things. We sold them like crazy during Black Friday. My now, I guess, famous Die Hard Christmas sweaters. And of course, since in the movie Die Hard, when the terrorist gets killed, John McClane puts a Santa hat on him with this sweater. So had to have it over at apforlibertyshop.com. Got a lot of exciting things to talk about today, and as usual, some terrific guests. But before we get to that, the top of the show this morning, dinks. What is a dink? First thing I thought was that it was something all kind of sexual, but it's not. As a matter of fact, it's actually the complete opposite of sexual. Dual income, no kids. Couples bragging about being childless on the internet goes viral, and we're going to talk about this morning at the top of the show. It's going to be an interesting one. Aren't you excited for that? Hell yes. What's up, Brian S.J.? Good morning. Nice to see you here. The top of the show today, we're going to talk about dual income, no kids, dinks. Apparently, some of these dinks, rinky-dinks, skidamarinky-dinky-dinks, skidamarinky-doo, I don't love you, have been facing a furious backlash, according to the Daily Mail, about the perks of their child-free lifestyle as they're branded sad losers by critics. Lol. Brandon, it's Christmas. You're going to get tossed under the gift bus. Everybody does. We all do. Every year, we all get tossed under the gift bus. We're going to talk about dinks this morning. Floby Tenderson says he's jealous of dinks for about 30 minutes each day. Then my kids say some hilarious shiz, and I am filled with joy. Oh, Floby, I'm so jealous of you. I can't wait to have kids. At 7:18 this morning, we're going to talk about transing the kids. Apparently, Nikki Haley comes out and says it's okay to trans the kids. Essentially, right? Not exactly, but allegedly. We'll talk about that. I've got the clip. You decide for yourself. How's that? At 7:35 this morning, we're going to talk about the corporate press. Speaking of boo, hit that. We're going to hit that boo button a lot this morning. Boo, the corporate press. The Wall Street Journal writes a hit piece on Javier Milei, and I'm calling it a hit piece because even though anybody who, if you're not as trained to spot the bias in the corporate media like me, this is my job, I'm a professional, then you might not necessarily register the fact that this is an attack piece from the headline alone. El Loco, of course, the crazy one, won the Argentina election last month with outlandish ideas. Now he's backpedaling. So the corporate press here, the Wall Street Journal, which, right of center, we're not talking about a left of center magazine, although on the spectrum, they would be, much farther left than where I'm at right now. I'm with Javier Milei. Hell yes. Who else is with Javier Milei? If you're with Javier Milei, click the like button and subscribe to the channel if it's your first time tuning into the program this morning and you're like, hey, that Javier Milei guy from Argentina sounds pretty gay. Well, great. Well, guess what? I am the American Javier Milei. Hell yes. This is a Javier Milei stand show. Anyway, so the Wall Street Journal subheading is Javier Milei, who pledged to kill the central bank, cut ties with China, and slash public spending, has taken a softer tone ahead of his inauguration. I want to go through this piece, and I'm going to debunk. We're going to hear from me on this topic at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. You're not going to want to miss that, so make sure that you stick around. At 8 o'clock this morning, we're going to hear from our friend Judge Andrew Napolitano. I'm kind of excited about that. We're going to talk to him about a potential massive change to the U.S. tax code that the Supreme Court might be ready to undergo. Oh, and did you guys see this is how you know that the news is a little bit slow during the holiday season, which I'm fine with talking about topics like these, and hopefully you are too, but the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer dropped, and I'm kind of excited about it. I mean, What? Don't be disappointed. I like video games, okay? And maybe it's because we're dinks. We're dinks. Me and my wife. But we're not bragging about it, okay? We're honestly trying. We don't want to be genetic dead ends. We don't want to be dinks, okay? We don't want to be skidamarinky dinky dink. We don't want to be skidamarinky doo. I love you, Stephanie, and we would love to have kids, and that is being worked on. At 8:30 this morning, we're going to hear from Sean Hickman, aka Roger Mayhem, online on Twitter, to talk about apparently there's a heckler's veto. Communities around the country are canceling public lighting displays of the menorah for Hanukkah, and even canceling some public Christmas celebrations that would have happened that aren't going to happen in light of the fears of the potential backlash. Apparently, I thought the war on Christmas was over, but apparently we're taking it to new heights in 2023. At 8:30 a.m. this morning, we're going to talk to Sean Hickman about that story, as well as Thomas Massie is in hot water. He's under serious attack for voting against, being the lone vote against many of these votes that are being taken on Capitol Hill to do things like declare that all anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. He votes against aid to Israel, for example. And all of these things, I think, are right within the libertarian purview, but he's still getting attacked for it. We're going to hear from Sean Hickman about that this morning at 8:30 a.m. It's going to be an awesome show. You don't want to miss a single minute. And of course, if it's your first time here, I do want to let you know that you can text the show anytime, night or day. As a matter of fact, I'd love it if you just program the show's number in your phone so that you can let us know what's on your mind. And a lot of times you might be listening to the program afterwards. We do cut this as an audio podcast. So do me a favor, make sure you send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. I'm looking forward to hearing from you today. And you can send us a text to let us know what you think about any of the topics that we're talking about today, or if you think that there might be a topic that we're missing on the show. Remember, we are live, and I don't have a news crew. This is a beautiful looking studio, but it's just me here all alone in the morning. I get in the downtown and they're Jefferson City, and pretty much I think I'm the first person to get to downtown Jefferson City to get the workday started. So what that means is there's nobody here to help me, so I rely on you. So make sure you text the phone line if there's breaking news, like a house explodes in, for example, yesterday in Arlington, Virginia. You got to let me know that stuff. So the text line again, 573-319-1586. All right. So dual income, no kids. Dink couple face furious backlash for boasting about the perks of their child-free lifestyle, as they're branded sad losers by critics. Lily Ann, who's 21, and her husband, also 21, from Utah, are in a dink relationship. The couple has a dual income and no kids. They went viral after bragging about their infant-free lifestyle. Are you ready to take a listen? Take a listen. Here we go.
We're dinks. We're going to get asked daily when we plan on having kids.
We're dinks. Of course we're going to go out to eat every night after work.
We're dinks. We don't have to ask our family for financial help or to watch our kid when we want to go out.
We're dinks. We're going to go to Costco and buy all the snacks in bulk that we want.
We're dinks. We have disposable income to spend on whatever we would like and don't have to spend on a kid.
We're dinks. I'm going to go to every football game and play 18 holes whenever I want.
We're dinks. We're going to get asked to every single family event what we're doing with our life. We're dinks.
Okay, well, we're dinks. We're dual income, no kids. See, whenever I hear dinks, I think that it's something else. Am I the only person who hears dinks and thinks twinks? Steffi says 21-year-olds, they are babies themselves. Yes, exactly. And I think, without letting the cat out of the bag of like my final judgment on this one, or you're already thinking what I'm thinking to an extent. These are kids, right? They're 21 years old. They're the prime of their youth, even if they are married, which I actually have a hard time believing, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Why is it that I have a hard time believing that? Well, it's because she's actually pretty cute, and he's a dink. I mean, I feel like dink. I would never accept a term like dink for myself, even if I were a dink, which I am a dink, but I'm not a dink. I don't claim that. Austin, what the hell's wrong with you?
How dare you?
I'm not a dink, even though I am technically a dink. Dual income, no kids yet, but I want to have kids and we're working on it. Please stop giving me crap about it. Okay. We're trying. Okay. We want some Liberty babies. So, anyways, even if I am a dink, I would never accept something like that because it's just a horrible term. But here's the thing: she's kind of a cutie, and like, look,
We're
I
gonna
mean,
get
not to just like
asked daily
boil
when we
everything
plan
down to
on, we're
looks.
dinks. We're gonna get asked daily when we plan on having kids.
We're dinks. Of course, we're gonna go out to.
Okay, look at this guy. All right, so here's the deal. Again, not to be too petty or anything like that, but they must live in a very small town because there's no way that this guy in any town larger than 2 or 3,000 people in it gets
Eat
this
every
chick.
night after work.
We're dinks. We don't have to ask our family for
And
financial.
here's the thing: she's gonna have kids one day. It's not gonna be his kids. But they're not the only ones apparently out there who are bragging about being childless. More dink couples decided to make TikToks. Take a listen.
We're dinks. We go to Trader Joe's and workout classes on the weekends.
We're dinks. We get into snobby hobbies like skiing and golfing.
We're dinks. We can go to Florida on a whim.
We're dinks. We're already planning our European vacation next year.
Dinks. We get a full 8 hours of sleep and sometimes more.
We're dinks. We get desserts and appetizers at restaurants.
We're dinks. We can play with other kids and give them back.
We're dinks. We still do it 3 times a week.
We're dinks. We spend our discretionary income on $8 lattes.
We're dinks.
Nice.
We max out our 401ks, Roth IRAs, and HSAs.
We're dinks. We don't use our kids or dog as an excuse to leave a party. We just leave. We're dinks. We go to Trader Joe's.
Okay, well, it's a little cringe, wouldn't you say? They're dinks, and it's quite cringe. Anyways, these kids are getting attacked online. I call them kids because they are kids. But the first couple that we watched, Lillian and her husband, they're 21 years old. They're part of the dink community, which is filled with romantic pairs who haven't had children. The Lovebirds have apparently been together since they were 16. Wow. And then they took to TikTok to brag about their infant-free lifestyle that sees them splurging on Costco trips and making every night a date night. I'm pretty sure. I love that the guy in this original video. Hold on, let's go back. Can we please let's pull it back up here. Let's hear what he's bragging
Daily when we
about.
plan on having kids.
We're dinks. Of course, we're gonna go out to eat every night after work.
Of course, we're going to go out to eat every night after work. Okay, dude. So what you're saying is you're preparing yourself for a lifetime of sadness because I promise you that the food that you can get at restaurants is never going to be as good as what you can make at home. That's just the reality. There was a time in my life when I was not that good of a cook, and the food that I would get out at restaurants would be better. But now, whether it's a ribeye steak, whether it's a meatloaf, whether it's a casserole or a pasta or whatever it is, it can be made better at home typically than what you will get at a restaurant, unless it's like the best restaurant in the world or there's some specialty dish like ramen. Anyways, Stephanie says that guy was probably cute in high school, but he changed. Yeah, well,
We're dinks. We don't have to ask our family for financial help or to watch our kid when we want to go out.
that's not a dink. That's just asking your family for financial help. That's just being a functioning adult, you idiots.
We're dinks. We're gonna go to Costco and buy all the snacks in bulk that we want.
Okay, you're dinks. You're gonna go to Costco and buy the snacks that we want. Why can't you do that if you have kids? What is it about having children that prevent what you have to look at this fat ass? Look at his like stupid shit-eating grin on his face. This idiot, this genetic dead end. Imagine bragging about that. I mean, he's a genetic dead end and he's bragging about it. There's a line from Skyrim. My ancestors are smiling down on me, Nord. Can yours say the same? I can promise you that this big old chunkalunka who's been eating too many of the snacks that he likes from Costco right here. I promise you that his ancestors are looking down on him with shame. And this is really the point here. I don't know about you, and this sort of ties into on a sidestep the surrogacy conversation, the desire to have your own biological children that I sort of mentioned yesterday in regards to the desire to have your surrogate parenting, to have your own biological children versus adoption, for example. And of course, that's in the context of gay couples. But I feel the urge, the pressing upon of history. Perhaps others don't feel this. And I understand not everybody necessarily needs to have kids, right? Some people have schizophrenia, some people are leftists. But then I repeat myself. But when it comes to the question of passing on your genes to the next generation, my view of this is to say that we have a responsibility, in my mind, to honor our ancestors and to pass on our genes and to have our children and to pass on to them this gift of life because of the sacrifices and the struggles that all of humankind have made in order to get us to this point in time where we are all right now at 7:17 a.m. in the morning Central Time in Jefferson City, Missouri, and wherever you are around the country and or around the world listening to this show at any time. To think about the generations of humans who for years suffered the pangs and arrows of outrageous fortunes, crossed continents, lost kin on the travel from the wagon train travel on the Oregon Trail to come across the United States, to come to Kansas City, Missouri, that my ancestors faced, the struggles that they faced, losing relatives to cholera. Perhaps some of them lost a leg. One of my great grandfathers, for example, fought in the Civil War and had his leg shot out, was lame for the rest of his life, managed to carry on, managed to live, survived the Civil War, fought on the losing side, came back to Missouri, impregnated his wife enough times to have enough children, because, of course, all of the children at that time didn't necessarily survive to adulthood. As a matter of fact, I think the majority of them did not, and managed to bring those children to full term and then adulthood, and then give us this gift of life. This is a gift. You have been given a gift by the people who have fought and died and struggled in order to bring us to this point in time where we are all together, where you are hearing my voice right now. If you're hearing me say this right now, the auditory signals that are being received by your brain all are a gift from your ancestors, from our shared ancestors, our common ancestors, going all the way back to the primordial soup, or for the creationists who like to listen to the show, which I believe are a majority of my listeners, back to Adam and Eve, or the foundations or the beginnings of the origins of life according to your religion. JJ 4884 says, unfortunately, both our culture and economy makes it tougher to raise kids on a single income. One message I think the populace have interest in, like Blake Masters: politics should be aspirational. Completely agree. Joni Rankin opening up, being very personal this morning. She says, wanted to have 6 kids, but after the 4th one was born with a genetic disease, cystic fibrosis, we had to stop. Very true, that some people will not be able to have children, and that's not their fault. But these are people who are choosing to be genetic dead ends. And while I think that there is an argument to be made to say, well, we don't, not everybody needs to have kids, for maybe for health reasons, perhaps genetic reasons, or perhaps they're communist scumbags and we don't want to encourage that and we prefer that they not have kids. I'm rejecting the mindset itself, right? What am I rejecting? I'm rejecting this idea that we shouldn't procreate. I think this plays very much into the whole, Agenda 21, depopulation agenda from the left. They despise life. They hate life. It reminds me a little bit about, the difference, speaking of aspirational views of humanity, we being pro-life. I think pro-life is about abortion centrally, but it's about being pro-life, I think, in tangentially. And here's my view. Stephanie and I watched the movie Soylent Green a couple of weeks ago. Have you ever seen this film with Charlton Heston? If you have, you probably are dating yourself. You're probably a little bit older. But spoiler alert, the movie's been out for like 50 years now, so I'm going to drop some of the plot points in it. It's a dystopian future And it used to be, and I think a lot of people have forgotten this, but it used to be the great fear, and it still is to some extent. We still feel the after effects of this in our modern leftist policy proposals. But it used to be the big fear. People were really terrified about overpopulation. And of course, we have a depopulation agenda that exists today from the left, in the form, and it takes the form of birth control. It takes the form of the trans issue, right? Cutting off the wing-wangs of our children. It takes the form of it takes many other forms, right? To climate change, that agenda, the fear of overpopulation. But in the movie Soylent Green, it shows the future as being, and I think it was set in like 2022, which is funny. And it showed, there are so many people that there just isn't enough of food to go around. So the government has to set out rations where people are eating biscuits, and the popular biscuit is Soylent Green, and there's hardly enough food to go around for everybody. So every once in a while there's a riot, and the government comes along with dump trucks and scoops everybody up into the dump trucks, and then carts them away. And you never know, see or hear from them again. And then, of course, Charlton Heston's favorite line at the end of the movie, you realize he says, "Soylent Green is people. Tell everyone it's people." So they're chopping us up and they're feeding us back to ourselves, so that you die and then you get fed back into the population. But this reflected an anxiety that the left still feels about overpopulation. Now, why do they think this? And why do they fear a potential overpopulation? It's not going to happen, especially here in the United States. Now, they don't fear overpopulation in lots of other countries, right? They're trying to encourage countries like China, and they're trying to encourage the economic development of third world countries while trying to slow down the economic development in countries like the United States. But that's neither here nor there. There are some people like the evil globalist elites, like the Bill Gates and the Melinda Gates of the world, and the Barack Obamas, who they're happy to see reduced population in places like India and China and things like that, and they will encourage that because it is a strict part of their ideology. But for the most part, I think most leftists hate the United States and would like to depopulate the United States while seeing the thriving of the third world because of white guilt. So in regards to the question of Brian SJ, she says she's just dated herself. Soylent Green is a good movie. Damn right it is. It's also got some nice little sexiness in it. Steffi really loves the sex stuff in movies. She's just, I'm outing my wife, but she loves the sexy times in the movies. Eric Dundero 99 is here. Good morning, Eric. Nice to see you. But the Soylent Green film shows the anxiety of the left in their fears of overpopulation. Now, why do they think this? I think partially it's because most leftists live in big cities, and I think that they look at their own surroundings and they project their fears onto the rest of the country. I remember that the joke, and this was actually a joke that was in The Office, where Dwight Schrute is walking in downtown New York City and says, "Ugh, we need a new plague." And that was a joke, but the left really believed that. They really felt that way. And I think they probably still do. As a matter of fact, remember, many of the left loved COVID-19. They were so happy, not just because they got to sit on their fat asses and get a government check and not work, right? Because they're a bunch of lazy you-know-whats. But they also loved COVID-19 because it was killing people. They accused other people of being grandma killers and all this stuff. It was all a facade. It was all a lie. They loved it. And you know why? Because they called it the boomer remover. And there's nothing that the left hates more than old white people. They wanted to see the older generation die off because they lied that we are grandma killers and we're these horrible, evil people, right? No, they wanted the plague. They wanted they want a reduced population. It was all an act. It was all performative politics, this whole pointing of the finger at us for not taking the pandemic seriously. And because they want to put us in concentration camps. They want to do to us in the United States what they did to them in Australia. This is what the left's agenda is. is to round up everyone who does not agree with their leftist, socialist, globalist, communist, totalitarian, fascist agenda. And so this concept of, and this is a big extrapolation from this, the dinks and the desire to have no children, but it all springs forth. It's a symptom of the disease of leftism and socialism that has a depopulation agenda, because they only want they all see themselves as the elites who will be protected and who will live. They want an income strata of a very few elite who sit at the very top of society and who tell the groundlings and the proletariats and the plebes what to do. No middle income class. They don't want people to be, middle income or to be middle class or to be upper middle class, because then they have the opportunity to be supplanted. This is why they hate capitalism. Yes, I'm saying that rich people and rich big corporations, they do not like capitalism. They don't like capitalism because it allows people like you and me to have as many kids as we want, to populate the earth with our beautiful little babies and have as many babies as we want, and to be able to afford to have the babies that we want, right? Remember, a big part of this whole dual income, no kids is because, people can't afford to have babies, right? But if we have capitalism, we can afford to have babies. If we have capitalism, we can afford to have lots of children. That's why the elites, the totalitarian, authoritarian, fascist, leftist, socialist, globalist, communist, they don't want us to be able to afford to have kids because they want us to depopulate. They don't like having to walk around us. They don't like having to be around us. They wanted to have a new plague. Okay? They don't want you and I to be able to supplant them. And that's what this is about. Real capitalism is about competition. Leftist, socialist, totalitarian elites, the uber wealthy of our society, do not want capitalism because that means that they have competition. They don't want your kids to be able to compete against their kids. They want you to have fewer children. Now, they're going to have fewer children themselves, and some of them are childless as well and are genetic dead ends, for example. But what do? They go out and they pull an Angelina Jolie or a Brad Pitt, and they adopt like 25 different children, and then they trans their own kids. They trans their kids, and then they go out and they pick out from the population of the third world, and then they bring in them. And I noticed that they don't trans the foreign kids that they adopt. Have you ever noticed that? When celebrities go out and they adopt 25 kids from the third world, they don't trans those kids, but they do trans their own. Am I sounding absolutely bat insane this morning? Do I sound bat insane? What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Send us a text at 573 319 1586. That's 573 319 1586. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. Corey and Callie says Austin got 50 Shades of Grey DVD stuck in the DVD player. What are you talking about? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Again, if you can send us a text at 573 319 1586. Matt Unruh says dink is Canadian slang for penis. I knew it had to be something. Lutrike says, as for you, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply in the earth and increase on it. Nice biblical injunction there, Lutrike. Glad to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you. This morning on the show, I wanted to let you know that we have a new sponsor for the program today. And it is, well, I guess the show is brought to you in part by our new sales channel at tpublic.com/AP4Liberty shop. So TeePublic is an online merchandise store where we're going to be sharing some of our more popular designs. And for those of you who have been wanting to get some of our more popular t-shirts, but who have been a little intimidated by the prices over at AP4Liberty shop, just an FYI, we are offering now some reduced prices and some sales on some of our more popular items over at tpublic.com/AP4Liberty shop. The actual link that I'd like you to click on is in the description of the video and the podcast that you're listening to right now. Let me just show you real quick. So I've got it looks like 4 of our most popular designs available at tpublic.com. Click on the link in the description so you can find them more. Our Ooh Government shirt, Caucasian shirt, Rebellion to Tyrants is Obedience to God, Benjamin Franklin shirt. And of course, our very popular Pepe Crusader Knight shirt, all reduced prices for a few days right now. You can get them for $16 over at tpublic.com/AP for Liberty Shop. Click on the link in the description for some of our most popular t-shirt designs. You can get them now available on our new sales channel at tpublic.com. Make sure you click on that link in the bio. All right, so my voice gets really exhausted when I don't have guests that are joining us for the first hour, so we don't. So unfortunately, I do have to take a brief little commercial break just so I can let my throat rest, and we will be back with more. Javier Milei getting attacked by the right-wing corporate press. Don't miss it. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Sorry to take a commercial break like that. I need it sometimes whenever my voice is being overused. And I'm definitely being used this week. Not in a bad way, but in a good way. As a matter of fact, I think you all are going to be very excited to see that I am cast in the lead role of a new cartoon series that's debuting next year called Jonathan Gullible, the Adventure series. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. So for the last several months, I've been going, as soon as the show is over, I go to another studio across town here in Jefferson City, and I've been doing all of the voiceover work for the Jonathan Gullible Adventure series, new cartoon series. And it's got a bunch of other people that you would know, whose names you would know, that are starring in the cartoon series alongside me. But I'm the star. Yeah. I've always wanted to do something like that. So I play Jonathan Gullible, who is on a series of misadventures and learns a bunch of economic lessons along the way as he, has hijinks and travels across the island and gets into, danger and adventures and all kinds of fun stuff. Jonathan Gullible's The Adventure series debuts, I believe, next spring. We don't have the exact date set just yet, but it's been really fun to be a part of the project. And of course, it's just really cool to get to do a voiceover work. So look forward to that coming out early next year. And there's actually a Hollywood movie that I got cast in to do a voiceover for, so double trouble. And of course, I'm working diligently to bring to you my very first documentary, the Battle of Athens documentary, which I'm working on to try and bring out just before, and hope to launch just before the election next November. So look for that next year as well. All kinds of exciting stuff happening. But because part of the voiceover work for the cartoon, which is, if you haven't already guessed, it's kind of a libertarian cartoon adventure series, sort of like the Tuttle Twins, if you will, but instead of being books, it's like a cartoon series. And where was I going with this? I lost my train of thought. That's what happens when you're 42 years old. You know what? I'm starting to turn into this guy.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
So anyways, the point is, my voice is super exhausted because of all of the voiceover work that I've been doing, in addition to talking 2 hours, 5 days a week, 10 hours of the Wake Up America show. So please forgive me for taking breaks and breathing deeply like that, if you will, just because sometimes I get a little out of breath. Glad to have you here. You can text the show anytime, night or day, at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. I'm glad to see that our listeners are enjoying their Founding Flavors coffee today, which you can get exclusively at apforlibertyshop.com. We don't yet have a date. I know people are asking about the K-Cups. We don't have a date yet for those K-Cups, but we did give you those K-Cup inserts for ground coffee. So I see Brandon Meyer over there is looking for K-Cups. We don't have those yet, and we don't have an estimated drop date. We're told it's coming soon, that we're going to be capable of doing it, but we're just not there yet. So please do get those inserts. We sell them to you at cost, so we don't make any money on those at all, just so that we can get our delicious coffee in your home. Because here's the thing, if you try Founding Flavors coffee, you're going to love it. My recommendations, my favorite is Thomas's Painkiller. That's the Colombian single origin. But I also really love the Jeffersonian Java. I love the Benjamin Franklin's Electric Elixir. Those are my top 3 favorites. But also our seasonal one that's going away, by the way, at the end of this month, Martha's Mint. Whoa, that stuff is good. Absolutely delicious peppermint flavored coffee, not too strong. Add a little chocolate sauce into it or a little mint schnapps if you're feeling spicy, and enjoy. Okay, well, Elon Musk yesterday was Javier tweeting. Obviously, this is going to be in Spanish, which means that I'm going to be translating this for you. So I apologize. I'm talking over Javier so that people who are listening to this show, not watching it, can understand what's being said. But Elon Musk tweeted Javier Milei yesterday, and you'll love to see it. Here's Javier Milei talking about equality before the law. First of all, there is a phrase from Milton Friedman that I think is sublime in the context of this topic. A society that puts equality before freedom will get neither. A society that puts freedom before equality will get a high degree of both. Even John Stuart Mill pointed this out. A society that obsesses with equality sooner or later becomes a society of looters and falls apart. That is the story of Argentina. Now, the host is saying they talked about the tyranny of the majority. Bueno. Therefore, the point is that social justice is unjust. There is nothing more unjust than social justice. Because what is the greatest achievement of liberalism? Liberalism's greatest achievement is, quote, equality before the law. That is to say, the law is the same for everyone. When you adhere to the ideas of social justice, which means the redistribution of income, what you are really doing is using the repressive state apparatus so you can take from the successful to distribute it capriciously, according to the wishes of whomever is in power. Brilliant stuff. You got to love it. And I love seeing Javier Milei being tweeted by Elon Musk, don't you? God bless it. Oh, that's the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. We're getting there. We're getting there. But that's Javier Milei. And of course, because everything he is saying is absolutely correct, he's already under attack by the from the corporate press. Actually, I can pull it up for you so the viewers can see what I'm talking about here. Here's the headline. Take a look at this. El Loco, they call him, which is, to be fair, that was a nickname they used against him, the crazy one. Won the Argentina election last month with outlandish ideas. Now he's backpedaling. Well, okay. The hit pieces have begun. And remember, the Wall Street Journal is not some left-wing news rag. It's not like The Economist where it's gone woke and it's been taken over by socialists or leftists. The Wall Street Journal, and I subscribe to it, is right of center, that's why I read it, because their journalism is typically top-notch. But today it's shite. Oh, yes. That's shite. And I wonder if it has anything to do with the last names of the people who wrote the article. Okay, Joel Vyas, Ryan Dubé, and Silvina Fridlewski. The subheading, Javier Milei, who pledged to kill the central bank, cut ties with China, and slash public spending, has taken a softer tone ahead of his inauguration. Actually, you idiots, he said all along that while he is an anarcho-capitalist and while he wants to accomplish things like shutting down the central bank, he has said that he wants to take pragmatic steps to get there, which is why I really love Javier Milei. He's an anarchist in his heart, but he knows that he has to take minarchist steps to be able to get there. That shows to me that he actually cares about making real changes. He actually cares about his people. He wouldn't just rip the rug out from underneath them overnight, and he knows that he has to make compromises in order to be able to get his agenda across. Now, he is president-elect, so he's not the president yet. and we have time to see what's going to happen. His inauguration hasn't, happened yet. And he is very much an economic libertarian and a social libertine, which I think is why there might be some trepidation with him. Not just there's a lot of course, anti-Semitism being thrown at him. He's not Jewish, but he is very pro-Israel. So a lot of the hatred of Javier Milei definitely stems from that, because when I wrote a piece in Human Events magazine that was published last week about Javier Milei, Jack Posobiec tweeted it yesterday, and the main criticisms underneath that article were all that he's, friendly to Jews. So he won by a landslide, and he promised to slash government, and he wants to bring government spending down by 40% to bring down inflation. He said things like the state is not the solution, rather it is the problem. Completely agree. And 46 million people in his country, he's got to take pragmatic steps to be able to bring his agenda to the forefront, right? He's 53 years old. He believes in legalizing drugs. He believes in same-sex marriage, and that's a risky thing. And you could lose conservative votes for that, because it's a very Roman Catholic country. I mean, Pope Francis comes from Argentina, and Pope Francis does not like Javier Milei. Milei has said things like, I don't care what your sexual preference is. He says, if you want to be with an elephant and you have the consent of that elephant, that's a problem between you and the elephant. Okay, well, I don't think an elephant can consent, Javier. But it is funny. Taxation, he said, is nothing more than armed robbery by the government. Who are you to put your hands in my pocket? Yes. You'll love to see it. He says, but here's how the Wall Street Journal is characterizing this. He says, days ahead of his inauguration, Sunday, okay, so it's this Sunday, Milei is backpedaling, surprising supporters and opponents. Well, it might be surprising opponents or people who don't pay attention to him, but it's not surprising his supporters, because his supporters have actually done their homework on Javier Milei and have listened to what he actually said. He has jettisoned some of his top economic advisors who were enlisted to help him kill the central bank and adopt the U.S. dollar as a national currency. He is aligned instead with officials from a previous center-right government that he previously derided. No one said eliminating the central bank was going to be instantaneous, he said on Sunday. That is true. There is one promise, however, that he did say would be instantaneous, and we'll get to that promise in a moment. Now, after promising to cut ties with China, he had referred to the communist regime as assassins. True, he has since exchanged cordial words with Beijing. China is Argentina's top buyer of soy, and Argentina is Latin America's third largest recipient of Chinese state bank loans in South America. Interesting. Even his tone has shifted from talk show personality to stoic voice of reason. He acknowledged the transition from nearly 2 decades of leftist Peronist governments to his vision of unfettered capitalism could take longer than expected. Well, yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer than expected, because what the left has destroyed, it's up to us, we, the libertarians, to clean it up. Milei drew votes from people who were angry at the political establishment, not because they supported his libertarian view, according to political analysts, which is, again, probably who are political analysts, by the way. Which political analysts? They don't say. This is the Wall Street Journal writing. Argentines who are accustomed to a nanny state are now saying they hope his campaign promises were all talk. They worry his economic remedies will hit too close to home, says Gustavo Perez. He says Milei is a rich guy. He's not going to feel the cuts like we are. He's a mechanic in the working class district of San Miguel on the outskirts of the capital. He fretted over the fate of a new sewage processing facility being built on his street. Despite being an agricultural powerhouse with massive lithium and energy deposits, Argentina is in its worst economic crisis in a generation. 2 of 5 people live in poverty. The peso has lost 90% of its value. In November, inflation was up 147% from a year earlier. But not because Argentina instituted libertarian policies. It's because Argentina has spent way too much GD money through socialism and on social programs and on public affairs and public works, and has destroyed the value of their currency because they've had too much government, not too much liberty. Now, Benjamin Gaydon, who is the director of the Latin American program at the Wilson Center, you know, the Woodrow Wilson Center, has said Argentines are in no mood for sacrifice after more than a decade of economic suffering. When are people ever in the mood for sacrifice? No one is ever, when you get is a crack addict ever in the mood for sacrifice? Is an alcoholic ever in the mood for sacrifice? Are people who are addicted to methamphetamines, are they ever ready for a sacrifice? No, they're not. Unions, social movements, and the Peronist opposition will be out for blood from day one. Well, that I have no doubt. Absolutely. Millions of other state workers fear mass firings during the campaign. Milei called the public sector a cancer that needed to be removed. Oh, so true. Pablo Biro, who is a representative of a pilots union, is ready to fight Milei's expected cuts of government-run air carrier, which last year posted $200 million in losses. He says they're going to have to literally kill us, Biro said on national radio. Don't tempt me with a good time. Here's the promise that he made. Outside of the Ministry of Women, Gender, and Diversity, Daniela Aranchiva, an administrative advisor, gave a look of anguish as she talked about the possibility of losing her job. It's going to disappear. Something so important. Now, the Ministry of Women, Gender, and Diversity was promised to be cut on day one from Javier Milei. So let's see if Javier Milei actually lives up to his promise. You got to know that the Daniela Aranchivas of the world are panicking, freaking out. Yes, scream, run, and cry. I really hate this article from the Wall Street Journal. It's total bull. Milei says he won't be pressured by protests because the left is now claiming that they will be taking to the streets, the labor unions. He sees his 11-point victory over the economy minister, Sergio Massa, as a mandate to remake a country that has lurched from one crisis to the next. The first economist elected president in Argentina said the surge in domestic stock and bond prices after his win was a sign of market confidence in his plans, and I agree completely. What do you think? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. This is a very long piece from the Wall Street Journal, so I won't be able to read all of it, but I have tweeted it over at my Twitter account, so make sure that you follow me there as well at AP for Liberty. Excuse me, got a cough. You can follow me again at twitter.com/AP for Liberty. That's AP, the number 4, AP for Liberty. You love to see it. Hey, nice to see you. Thank you very much for the likes, guys. We got 37 likes and we have 162 people watching. I'd love it if we could hit 62 likes out of the 162 people watching. Thank you to Robbie Wilson for that. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. One listener texted in and says, did you mention where your Jonathan Gullible show will air? Well, I don't know the answer to that just yet, so that's still up in the air. It will be aired somewhere, and you will be able to get copies of it. Most likely, you're going to be able to stream it online. So if you're interested in seeing my libertarian cartoon that I'm voicing, then make sure that you keep an eye out on, of course, right here on the show, and I'll make those kinds of announcements. One listener texted in, says, would the cartoon be canceled after one season, or will it last forever like The Simpsons? I don't know. All I can say is that if it makes it into, extra seasons, then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask for more money, baby. Yeah. I didn't get paid much anyway, but I did get paid, which is nice. Paid voiceover work. And don't forget too, there is a Hollywood movie that I'm going to be, that I have a very, very tiny little cameo, and it's only a voiceover. I play a radio announcer in a new film that's coming out next year. And I said that, and I negotiated a small payment for that, but I said, what I want more than anything is for me and my wife to get tickets to the red carpet premiere. So whenever the new movie that I'm in is being released, in spring of next year, then Stephanie, I'm going to take my lovely wife to the red carpet premiere, which is either going to be in Hollywood, California, or in New York or New Jersey. So that should be exciting, kind of fun. I've always wanted to do one of those Hollywood premieres. I've been to like fashion parties and stuff where they like take your picture on like a red carpet with all like the beautiful like background and stuff like that. But it's just not the same as like being in a movie and getting invited to go to the red carpet premiere. And like, it's going to be great because all the paparazzi will be like taking pictures of me and Steffi, and she'll be looking all beautiful and wearing high heels for the first time in her life. And we'll be on the red carpet, and everybody's going to be like, all right, who are these guys? Going to be like, who the hell are these people? Can we get the actual stars? But one of the guys who's starring in it is, you guys know Jason Mewes from Jay and Silent Bob. Yeah. He's one of the stars in it. Also, Martin Kove from, Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid series is also one of the stars of the film. Yeah, it's going to be a big one. I'm excited. I only have like a 60-second cameo in it, and it's just my voice as a voiceover. But it's going to be a great movie, and I'm kind of excited. I read part of the script that they gave me access to, and it sounds kind of funny, and I'm looking forward to it. So keep an eye out for that, as well as my cartoon series next year. The Wake Up America show absolutely be killing it. It's time for some big brain time. Judge Aner Napolitano to talk about some changes to the tax code. The Supreme Court weighs in when we get back on Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
An engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupamericashow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupamericashow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells swing and jingle bells ring. Snowing and blowing up bushels of fun. Now the jingle hop has begun. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells chime in jingle bell time. Dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square. In the frosty air. What a bright time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time is a swell time.
Ho, ho, ho. Good morning. I'm on
because of your baby face. And if you had called me Jedi Master at Fox, we both would have been fired.
Good, Judge. We're glad to have you here. I love our new venture together, and we're grateful to have you as our regular Wednesday guest here. Obviously, our listeners should know that your Judging Freedom podcast, which is a massive hit, is available to download on any mobile device. And of course, your weekly column at judgenap.com is mandatory reading. Of course, we won't force the government to do it, to make you read it, but I will say that you should at judgenap.com. Judge, I'm keeping an eye on the Supreme Court, a fascinating court, and hopefully we can hold on to it for a little bit longer, depending on the outcome of the next election. But the Supreme Court is looking at possibly making a massive change to the tax code, which, correct me if I'm wrong, it's fairly rare for the Supreme Court to weigh in on tax matters like this. Can you help our listeners understand what's going on?
So the short answer is yes, it is rare for the Supreme Court to weigh in on tax matters. The slightly longer answer is yes, the court has been asked to clip Congress's wings, which it hasn't done in respect to taxes. So about 100 years ago, the court ruled that while Congress can't regulate everything, it can't make red neckties illegal. It can tax what it wants. It could impose such a high tax on red neckties that nobody would want to buy one. That would allow Congress to regulate via taxation. So that's the principle we start with. Here's what happened here. And this is where, and I'm sorry to say this, Donald Trump can be very dangerous because of the thoughtlessness of his tinkering with economic matters. In an effort to tell the public that he was going to force foreign investment back into the U.S., not always a good thing because it interferes with where you want to place your money. When Congress revised the tax laws in 2017 and gave most of the country a tax break, unfortunately not where I live, not in New York, not in New Jersey, and not in California, because they removed the state and local tax as a deduction. Another issue for another time. Congress enacted a wealth tax. Now, a wealth tax is not a tax on income. It's a tax on wealth existing outside the United States. So a couple, husband and wife in the state of Washington, invested $40,000 in a friend's business. The friend operated the business in India. The business does not pay interest or dividends. and you can't sell the stock. It's just there. You're not going to get that money back with any appreciation until the business is sold. They understood this and they agreed to it. The business has prospered. The $40,000 is worth a lot more than $40,000. The IRS sent them a tax bill. And they said, what is this for? We don't have any income. We can't even get any money. We can't get income if we want to under the terms under which we made the investment. They challenged the IRS in federal court in Washington. They lost. They lost before the Ninth Circuit, which is the federal appellate court for the 15 westernmost United States. And now that matter is before the Supreme Court of the United States. Can the federal government tax wealth? To me, this is obviously a no-brainer. Somebody who believes that taxation is theft, obviously, there's no authority for this. There's no authority for it in the Constitution. There is, regrettably, authority in the Constitution to tax income, but there is no authority to tax wealth. Now, how dangerous is this? Well, this is very dangerous, because if the court upholds this, Congress may decide, Mr. and Mrs. Austin Peterson, you have X dollars in wealth in your home, in your businesses, in your investments. And even though they're not giving you income, we're going to tax that wealth. Oh, Charles Koch, you have X dollars in wealth. We're going to tax that wealth. This is a no-brainer to me, but it certainly wasn't a no-brainer to the court yesterday. Even the darling of the libertarians, he's not the darling of the libertarians because he's the only libertarian on the court, Neil Gorsuch, Justice Gorsuch, seemed shockingly receptive to the IRS argument. So this is a very, very dangerous case. It's sort of a sleeper. There's very little money involved. The tax bill is only $14,000. That's where it stands. A decision by April.
So very concerning, because Neil Gorsuch doesn't appear to be on our side on this one. Why would that be? Why would he not come down on our side?
Well, because the originalist in him accepts the 100-year-old jurisprudence that Congress can tax whatever it wants. And if the people don't want that taxed, then they can vote a new Congress. But this is the definition of taxation being theft, because it's taxing wealth that, in this case, their last name is Moore, Mr. and Mrs. Moore, that Mr. and Mrs. Moore can't even get, they can't even hold, they can't even touch. I mean, if you want to tax Charles Koch's wealth, I don't mean to pick on Charles, but he's one of the wealthiest men in the world, and he has billions in assets in the U.S. He can touch that. He can turn it into income. The Moores can't even touch what they have. So the whole principle that Congress can tax whatever it wants is anti-Madisonian, because Madison argued that Congress can only tax in the areas in which it can regulate. So Congress, Madison argued, can tax interstate commerce because Congress can regulate interstate commerce. But it can't tax what it can't regulate. Supreme Court said, no, it can tax whatever it wants.
So just to make this a little bit easier for people to understand, Judge, in regards to the question of, what can be taxed and what can't be taxed, the question on whether income must be realized or received, could apply to things like, bond investors, partnerships, multinational corporations, but could it then also apply to, for example, if I buy stocks, I purchase stocks to try and secure my retirement, I could be taxed on gains that I have not even made yet, future possible gains?
Well, that is not the law yet, but that may very well become the law if the Moores lose their case. Now, I got to give you a little caveat here. This statute that Trump signed, the Tax Jobs Act, that's some crazy name that they give these laws, in 2017, this is only a one-shot deal, meaning the Moores, the government can't, under this statute, retax the same wealth. It's just a one-shot tax. So the fear that you have for your unrealized wealth, there is no tax on that at the moment. If the Supreme Court sides with the Moors, there will never be a tax on that. If the Supreme Court sides with the IRS, then it will be up to Congress to enact a new tax, and they probably will.
And the cynic in us is leaning towards the possibility that the Moors are going to lose their case and we're going to be taxed on unrealized gains in the future.
I think the Moors are going to lose their case, but just listening to the common thread between the two opposites there, Justice Gorsuch is such an interesting brain, which often connects with his ideological opposite. I mean, one of the greatest dissents in the modern era was jointly authored by Justice Gorsuch and Justice Ginsburg on double jeopardy. We can discuss it at another time if you like. But he was connecting with Justice Sotomayor, and the two of them seem to be coming down on there's got to be guideposts here so the IRS doesn't go crazy. So there may be some sort of half win for the government, if you will. One of the Friends of the Court briefs was signed by a law firm hired by Paul Ryan. Paul is was the Speaker of the House of Representatives at the time, and of course, notwithstanding being a social democrat, is at heart, warfare, welfare, big government guy. And his brief was just enough to make you lose your breakfast if you read it, arguing how the government would be crimped if it couldn't tax whatever it wanted to. I mean, if I could do anything tomorrow, I would add one or two words to the Interstate Commerce Clause, one or two words to the 10th Amendment, and I would repeal the 16th and 17th Amendments. 17th Amendment, of course, permits income tax. The way to shrink the government is to starve it.
Completely agree, Judge. You're not going to find any disagreement with me on that. I think the 16th and the 17th Amendments are definitely amongst the worst, and we're glad to have you here to make these cases. Judge, just maybe a little bit of a curveball, maybe not tangentially related, but Sandra Day O'Connor passed away recently. I wonder what you thought of her.
Well, I knew her personally and enjoyed our friendship, and I will tell you a funny story about how we met in a minute. But she really had no ideology. She was the ultimate centrist, sort of a bridge builder. I mean, she was the most powerful woman in America and therefore the most powerful person on the court for 20 years before Anthony Kennedy became the swing vote. She was the swing vote for conservatives and for liberals. And she went back and forth. And when there was no way to predict which way she was going to go, she made things up like this constitutional principle, I'm speaking of affirmative action, only exists for 25 years. Well, is the Constitution going to change in 25 years? Well, no, I don't think we'll have that problem in 25 years. And of course, it's 30 years later, and we still have the problem of affirmative action in colleges. However, I met her in a funny way. I don't know if you remember the Fred Friendly programs on WPBS. They were hour-long town hall meetings with 13 people on stage, and Fred Friendly and then eventually Arthur Miller from Harvard, who took it over from him, did the interrogation. Well, I was invited to be on this, and they picked your name out of a hat as to where you sat. So of the 13 people, I sat right in the middle with 6 to my right and 6 to my left. And then who sits immediately to my right? Antonin Scalia. And who sits immediately to my left? Sandra Day O'Connor. So they looked at each other and they said, "Hey, Judge, don't get any ideas. The only person that gets to sit between us is the Chief Justice." And then she kept tormenting him during the program. Nino, what about this? What about that? And he would say, "Sandra, would you let me finish?" And then he'd whisper in my ear, you see what I have to put up with? And this is just a television show. Can you imagine this happens in real life? The woman's driving me mad. I've never told that story on air before. And then at the end of the program, she hugged and kissed me like I was her son or her next door neighbor or her best friend.
Judge, you really have lived such a fascinating life, have you not?
I have. It's a gift. It's a
Certainly.
gift. The
It
good
certainly
Lord
is.
didn't give me everything I wanted, but he gave me a lot of energy and a lot of hair.
Well, you're lucky for that, Judge. You're very lucky for that. I appreciate that. I wish I had a little bit of that Italian blood. Good morning. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here this morning. If you're joining us live right now and you're wondering who am I, I'm Austin Peterson. You should know my guest, Judge Andrew Napolitano. He's the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, and he joins us live here every Wednesday on the program at 8 a.m. Central Time. So make sure that you set your calendars so that you don't miss these great conversations that we have. We call it Big Brain Time for a reason. We talk about the big news of the day, and we also dwell a little bit deeper into some of the philosophical issues concerning our shared ideology of libertarianism. Judge, you have got a great column coming out this week that I'd love if you could preview with us over at judgenap.com with our listeners. Would you mind sharing some of that with us?
Sure. It's called American Hubris, and it is a small, brief history lesson on the post 9/11 war excesses of the government and how they get away with it. You know, George W. Bush, arguably the worst president in the post-World War II era, wasted $2 trillion and a million lives invading Afghanistan to get everybody's eye off the ball of the failures of 9/11. Afghans had nothing to do with it. His friends, whom he managed to get out of the country in the 72 hours following 9/11, the Saudis paid for it and orchestrated it. Anyway, when he decided he wanted to invade Afghanistan under the pretext of, we'll get with those people who messed with us, he didn't ask for a declaration of war. He couldn't get one because the Afghan government hadn't waged war on the U.S. He got a creature unknown to the Constitution called the AUMF, the Authorization for Use of Military Force. It didn't name a target, it didn't name a country, and it doesn't have an endpoint. And every president since George W. Bush has used this AUMF to justify all sorts of killings, as recently as last year by Joe Biden. All of this in an effort to build empire, to extend democracy. Remember, the theory behind Afghanistan was not only retribution, it was liberation. We're going to instill Western democracy in Afghanistan. Of course, we all know how Afghanistan ended up. We all know that the people running it now are the same cultural mindset of the people who were running it 22 years ago. The same mindset that 100,000 Soviet soldiers couldn't get rid of last century, the same mindset that 10,000 British soldiers couldn't get rid of in the previous century. But Bush and his people were ignorant of history, and they attempted to do the impossible to get everybody's eyes off the failures of 9/11. Fast forward to today, and this AUMF still exists. Presidents still use it. It's like a loaded gun in the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, and Congress doesn't have the guts to get rid of it. I did take a little poke in the ribs at my hero, the first American president to build empire, Thomas Jefferson, when he purchased what was known then as the Louisiana Purchase. But he didn't build empire by violence or force. He built it legally and, like a good libertarian, commercially. Napoleon needed 15 million. We gave him the 15 million. He gave us Louisiana.
And of course, if he hadn't done that, I wouldn't be sitting in Jefferson City, Missouri, where on this spot where I sit right now, Lewis and Clark, at his behest, discovered this country and established the state of Missouri, named so for the Missouri Indians who lived here at the time. The land of big canoes is what they called it. Judge, regarding Thomas Jefferson, this is a perfect segue for me now to do a brief deep dive into libertarian philosophy related to the events, again, the question of the Barbary Wars and the proper role of government. Libertarians have been having this debate online in the last week about the question about the proper role of government in regards to protecting American merchant shipping. And this debate has been sparked related to the attack on American merchant ships and a U.S. warship that was engaged by Yemeni Houthi rebels in the last week in the Red Sea. And of course, the question arises about the proper role of government in theory, which is what we're discussing, and of course, in practice, which is where we are right now with a massive government. I mean, you and I both agree we want a non interventionist government, we want free trade. But to an extent, free trade is protected by the guarantee of the U.S. Navy in protecting American merchant shipping. So the question, of course, is that, and this is going to be a little bit of a long way to build up to this question, and then I want to let you take the ball and run with it. The question, of course, is that, many corporations, my shop, for example, many of the items we get come from China, or they come from the Middle East, or they come from Russia. I probably couldn't afford to do business to the cost of goods and services if I necessarily had to pay for 50 caliber machine guns and for Patriot missiles on the merchant ships that would bring these products to me so I can sell them here in the United States. So to an extent, I rely on the U.S. military to ensure the proper that trade can go through the Red Sea, the Strait of Hormuz. African Somali pirates don't capture these shipments and things like that. So the regular flow of trade. So, not being an anarchist, right, where I would say, completely disband the military entirely, being a minarchist, I think that there is a proper role for government in protecting our liberties with cops, courts, and a limited military, not a standing army, but perhaps a U.S. Navy, as Thomas Jefferson instituted, for this same express purpose. The creation of the U.S. Navy meant to protect American merchant shipping. Is that the proper role of government in your mind as well, that American merchant shipping should be free from attack from pirates, state actors around the world to ensure free trade? What are your thoughts on this question in light of this story?
Well, there's a difference between if the attacker is a state actor, well, then that's an act of war, or a rogue actor, then it's an act of theft. But do I think the U.S. Navy should be protecting every ship out there? I don't see any authority for that under the Constitution. But in this era of the Barbary pirates, the seas were rampant with rogue actors and state actors. I mean, just 10 years later, the War of 1812 arguably is triggered by British ships capturing American vessels and kidnapping American sailors and forcing them to join the British Navy. This happens over and over and over again. And our friend James Madison, in order to get back at the British, attacked Canada. And this resulted in burning the White House, burning the Capitol. The British tried to take us back. This is the War of 1812. Which just sort of stopped when the British had had enough and we had had enough, and they went home. So the idea of the framers was, yes, we will use whatever force we have to protect goods when they're coming from the U.S. to Europe or going from Europe to the U.S. But that would lead to a role for the military that has nothing to do with protecting the security of the state. So even though I love the stuff you sell and I want you to be able to make a profit, those ships on which your goods come, they're going to have to buy their own guns. Well, in my world.
That would be nice in an ideal world. However, most ports of call do not allow merchant ships to carry arms that would be necessary to defend themselves from these actors because of whatever rules they have in their country based on, their views on gun
there'd
control.
be some insurance policy that could be worked out. The ships with the guns would leave you at some point. The insurance company would take the risk. This can obviously be done. I mean, Murray Rothbard argued that, an insurance company insuring your house and every house on your block from invasion by thieves in the night would cost you less and produce more safety than the police, than the taxes you pay for the police. So the same principle would apply on the seas.
Is there a danger to our liberties that exist by corporations with private armies that's as matched, if not worse, than a tyrannical government? In other words, if
Yes, there is.
If Pfizer or BlackRock or Merck or Johnson and Johnson or all these corporations that that hate people like you and I are given the power to have private armies, then the threat to our liberties still exists.
Yes, agreed. We just have to get a bigger army to beat theirs.
And it just seems like we go back to square one on that one. Judge, give us a preview of your excellent show. I love this conversation. I wish we could have it for hours. I'm thrilled to have these discussions with you after all these years, because I've always wanted to ask you things like the Thomas Jefferson, the Barbie Wars, and to spend hours and hours and hours discussing it, just because I'm such a huge nerd. But unfortunately, I'm running out of time. Judge, please tell us about your wonderful show and who you have coming up.
So I have Tony Shaffer and Phil Giraldi, former U.S. intelligence. Phil on, can you imagine Palestine without any Palestinians? Well, that's what Netanyahu wants. Tony on, how did the United States drop the ball and lose in Ukraine? And then I have two very heavy hitters who you would enjoy. Former liberal Democrats, big government types, now anti-war and libertarian activists, Naomi Wolf and Max Blumenthal. Max has been on before. Naomi Wolf, who used to write speeches for Bill Clinton and now writes essays for Lou Rockwell. So you can see that transformation. She's new to me, and I'm very much looking forward to my interview with her, as well as my interview with Max. Max has a huge following amongst my fans, and I expect that Dr. Wolf, Naomi Wolf, will as well.
Love it. Judge Napolitano, your show is a runaway hit. The Judging Freedom podcast can be downloaded on any of your mobile devices. And of course, visit his website, judgenap.com, and read his weekly column. I love it. Judge, thank you for your time. Merry Christmas. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Weston. Until next week. You just look like an elf with that Santa hat.
Merry Christmas, Judge. See you next week. Have a good one. That's Judge Napolitano. What do you think? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. We always love to hear from him. Did you know that the Wake Up America show is brought to you in part by Silver and Gold? Silver and Gold. Speaking of elves, what is Santa going to bring to you for Christmas this year? Now I have a machine gun, ho, ho, ho. Or is he going to bring you gold and silver? Do you have somebody in your life that you love a lot? Would you buy them a gold bar? I mean, if I got a gold bar for Christmas and I opened it up, I would be a very happy boy. Visit LearAustin.com for all your gold and silver needs. That's LeArAustin. If you want to get a $500 account credit for your first purchase of gold, give them a call at 1-800-885-2175. That's 1-800-885-2175 today. Lear Capital is our endorsed precious metals leader. Call them today. Write this number down, 1-800-885-2175, or visit LearAustin.com. That's LeArAustin.com. And we've got lots more great show left to go. Our friend Dave Rubin visited us yesterday to talk about the DeSantis campaign. We had a great conversation. Does he think that DeSantis can still win? Answer, yes. Would he vote for Donald Trump if Donald Trump wins? Answer, you'll have to find out when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. It was 1946. A battle was fought, not overseas, but right here on American soil. The Battle of Athens. An intense struggle against election fraud and for the rights promised by our founding fathers. Driven by the Second Amendment, ordinary citizens stood tall and fought back. Help us expose this momentous battle of integrity and bravery. Your support can make a difference. Visit givesendgo.com/bleedamerican and pledge your support, because we believe in the power of truth, the strength of unity, and the spirit of we the people. Let us not forget, we bleed American.
Fire.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're glad to have you here. Thank you to Rumble.com for putting us up on the front page today. How many thousands of people tuning in live? We're so grateful to have your support. Free speech is, well, not free. We'll just ask you to click the like button and maybe subscribe to the channel. So it's basically free. All you got to do, click that like button and subscribe to the channel and come back and join us here on the program every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, where we stream live. We fight for economic freedom and personal liberty. So if that's your bag, baby, well, I'm Austin P. I'm ready to rock. Let's go. All right. Well, it's Christmas time, and we like to talk to old friends, right? Ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. Dave Rubin has made quite a career in conservative media circles. He's out there campaigning now for who he believes is the most conservative candidate in the race. I think he's probably right. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, competing to be the next president of the United States. I got in a little hot water with DeSantis people a couple of weeks ago for a piece that I wrote saying that DeSantis supporters have been kind of annoying online, but not Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin has been perfectly nice and friendly. He's joining us live right now to talk. Good morning, Dave. How are you doing, sir?
Let me be clear about something. In the piece itself, did it say DeSantis supporters have been annoying, but not Dave Rubin, or are you adding that now that Dave Rubin has not been annoying about this?
I'm adding that now, Dave. It is the truth. And welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you.
It's good to see you, my friend. And it is funny, you know, we are old friends at this point. I think I had you on my show, if I'm not mistaken, the first time back in 2018, which feels many, many lifetimes ago for me. I obviously subsequently left Cali and moved to the free state of Florida. A lot has changed in the world. The world keeps changing even faster and faster. So all that to say, it's good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it's good to see you again too, Dave. I decided to sort of keep out of this primary just because I've been so terrible at political predictions in the past that I said to myself, you know what? I think it's probably better for me to just sit back and wait and see, because I was hoping that in this primary process that someone would distinguish themselves as, and you know me, the most libertarian of all of the candidates. And as I've sat back and watched, I've said to myself from the debates that Vivek Ramaswamy has really distinguished himself for that. And when I said that, DeSantis supporters immediately got very prickly about it. And there was this whole hubbub online. People are really upset at me. And, you know, you endorsed Ron DeSantis early. Maybe you'd like to tell me, you know, why you decided to endorse Ron DeSantis early, and just tell us, what do you think about his campaign so far?
Sure. Well, first, I just want to mention real quick that the reason that I ended up on the show today, and I'm happy to do it whenever I get the call from you, is because I saw that there was some fighting online about the Trump DeSantis thing, and you were kind of in the middle of it. And I reached out to you and I was like, hey, if you want me to come on and talk about it, because I do think that in a sane world, there would be very, very little to no friction really between the Trump people and the DeSantis people. So, for example, had Trump just decided not to run, I'm not calling for him not to run. I voted for him last time. If he's the nominee, I'm going to vote for him. But had he decided not to run this time and just said, you know what, DeSantis is the guy, he's younger, Florida's the model, we get it, I supported him, all that stuff, we would have the most unified Republican Party since Ronald Reagan re-election. And I think DeSantis would be blowing it out in the polls. The people, the very people who hate DeSantis now, who, because Trump, from my estimation, has lied almost completely egregiously about him related to Soros and Paul Ryan and all of the stuff. And now that he's somehow New York was better on COVID, just like the litany of lies Trump has thrown at him. Had Trump not done any of that and just sat back and said, hey, I'll be the kingmaker, this is the guy, DeSantis would be crushing it. And I'm telling you, this would be the most unified. We wouldn't even believe it. We would not know what to do with ourselves because it would be so unified. All of that aside, I think from a liberty perspective, from a competent governance perspective, from a track record perspective, Ron DeSantis is simply the best politician we have in America. Now, is he the best campaigner? Probably not. Could anyone have done this against Trump the right way? I don't know. I think the way Trump has salted the earth against DeSantis, they just didn't know exactly how to deal with it. That being said, we still have a month till the first, the Iowa caucus, and we will see what happens. If DeSantis went to all 99 counties, as you know, he's got the endorsement of Kim Reynolds, who's super popular. So I think that the results there are going to be a bit different than these strange polls are bearing out. I don't know if you saw my tweet about the polls, but the polls also are really bizarre, and some of the methodology I think is quite weird. I'm happy to discuss that if you want. But it's pretty damn unfortunate what's going on here, because there should not be this kind of friction at all. There obviously is. And I would just say one other thing, then happy to take any other questions on this. You got to also let go of a bit of what Twitter is. So when I saw you fighting with some people, like, I don't fight with people on Twitter like that anymore. I say my piece. Once in a blue moon, I'll respond to somebody. And then I talk about the issues as honestly as I can on my show. Twitter is filled with anonymous bots and trolls. China is paying people to be on Twitter to create chaos. That doesn't even begin to talk about what they're doing on TikTok and a whole bunch more. The anonymity thing has created all sorts of strange incentive structures and a Machiavellian attitude, excuse me, for people to just jump online and try to destroy everything. So regardless, at the end of all of this, whoever the nominee is, I hope everybody will get on board. And I think that's what the damn shame is. No one thinks that Ron DeSantis has been in bed with Paul Ryan. Donald Trump is far more in bed with Paul Ryan than Ron DeSantis. Nobody thinks that Ron DeSantis has anything to do with Karl Rove. Ron DeSantis is the only one who has fired 2 Soros DAs, et cetera, et cetera. So we got to figure out a way to get through some of this stuff. That's why I wanted to talk to you today.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff, Dave. And it's hard for me to disagree with pretty much anything that you've said. The question about the polls, I mean, we all know that polls can be skewed and can say whatever one person wants us to believe. I mean, there's pro-DeSantis polls and there's pro-Trump polls. I hearken back to a conversation that we had briefly at Freedom Fest back when the pandemic had just occurred. And you were just passing me in the hallway and you said, Austin, you're one of the only people, it seems, who hasn't absolutely lost their mind and gone into Trump derangement syndrome. But it does feel as if, I mean, there was the Never Trump movement of 2016, right? And we're talking about neocons, we're talking about the Bushites, the Romneyites, the people who, Bill Kristol has gone to the Democratic Party. I mean, those are the people who have lost their minds that you're talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. And you said something completely reasonable, right? That if Trump wins, afterwards, we all need to come together on the same page. And maybe Twitter isn't real life, and DeSantis people who are saying we'll never vote for Trump, maybe they're bluffing or anything like that. It does feel to me, Dave, tell me if I'm wrong, and I'm willing to change my mind. It does feel to me as if the DeSantis campaign is sort of treading those dangerous waters, the Bill Kristol, sort of never Trump territory. Is that wrong?
No, I don't think so. Look, I can't speak for the campaign, and I wouldn't purport to speak for the campaign. But you got to remember, it's a campaign. People are fighting. Like, the idea that somehow the DeSantis people have been meaner online than the Trump people have been. First off, I think that is empirically just obviously not true. But like, if I say anything remotely positive about DeSantis, things that everyone knows are true. If I tweet out right now, DeSantis was the greatest governor when it came to freedom during COVID, I will have Trump people saying, you're trying to destroy MAGA, you're a sellout, how much are they paying you? And I've never taken a dime from any campaign, nor would I ever. So the idea that one side is worse than the other, I think there's probably far more. If we were really looking at the numbers and evidence and behavior of people, there's probably way more evidence that the Trump people have been worse when it comes to DeSantis. But either way, I just think, as you just said, Twitter isn't real life, and I wouldn't get too lost in that. I would say the crew of people that you're talking about, the TDS crew and the neocon crew and the Bill Kristol crew, they all seem like they're moving more towards Nikki Haley. I can tell you, wherever I go throughout this country in the last year, and even when I was in London a couple of weeks ago for this Jordan Peterson ARC event, and I talked to people from literally dozens of countries about Trump and DeSantis, which is all anyone wanted to talk about. Most of the people that are supporting DeSantis it's not that they hate Trump. Most of them voted for Trump. They've just had enough of the drama. They think that he's sort of aged out. They're concerned about his ability to hire people and the firing of everybody, and that everyone's an idiot and a loser and a sellout if they worked for him and then never said anything against him. You know, look, Kayleigh McEnany, who by any estimation was the superstar of that administration at the height of COVID, going against that crazy media and doing it with class and dignity, and he turned on her. So again, it's not that I will not vote for him. I certainly don't have Trump derangement syndrome. I've told the story many times of having been with him at Mar-a-Lago and spent some time and enjoyed being with him. And I think he's a decent human being, and he's been treated unbelievably unfairly by the media and now our complete political establishment that is persecuting him and all of that stuff. But there is a better option, and I think we all know it. And that's, I think, what's happening here. Many of the Trump people, I get it, you're ride or die with him. This is your guy. You think he was cheated and all of that stuff. But no, I don't think anyone, if they really thought about it, thinks DeSantis is evil. I don't think they think he was bad on COVID. There is no evidence he has anything to do with Paul Ryan. There's no evidence, as I said, the Karl Rove thing, the George Soros thing. And I think that's why some of the behavior is so skewed, because you've got a guy who's being treated unfairly in Donald Trump, and you've got a guy who clearly is the standard bearer for conservative values. They should be on the same team right now, but this is just what politics is.
Well, so my hope for the future of the Republican Party is to turn it more towards liberty. And so in this primary, when I hear Vivek Ramaswamy saying we need to fire a million federal employees and choose them by their social security numbers, when he's actually going out there and talking intensely about the issues that I care about, people say, oh, Austin, he's just telling you what you want to hear. But I don't believe that, because nobody tells me what I want to hear, because I'm a minority within a minority within a minority, right? I'm a secular libertarian Republican. Like it's just nobody thinks what I think. There's like 10 of us out there, right? There are dozens of us, dozens. Okay. So my hope is, and the reason why I'm leaning towards Vivek in this primary is because, one, we don't have a very good bench in the Republican Party. We're like the party of old dudes, and we could really use some fresh young talent. So I'm hoping, I don't think Vivek is going to win, but I'd like to see him perhaps take a position in the administration, or at least maybe run for Congress in the future. So, and I want to see the Republican Party take up more of the values of Vivek. Ron DeSantis has troubled me with some of his authoritarian takes in Florida, and then his campaign, having sort of stumbled out of the gate, has made me think that it's worth more of my time to spend supporting Vivek Ramaswamy than Ron DeSantis. I haven't appreciated what he's done with Disney in Florida. I don't think that was the right way to handle that. I think that
I'm completely shocked from a libertarian perspective. He evened the playing field. Disney had special tax rates. They had a special airport. They had special zoning laws.
I understand.
They had the type of corporatism that libertarians.
But that should have been passed on. Those same tax benefits and those same the handling of their utilities should not have been passed on to the taxpayer. It should have been passed on to their. Those benefits should have then been given to their competitors, to Universal Studios, to the multitudes of theme parks.
But instead, he took it away so that they're treated exactly how SeaWorld and Universal Studios and Gatorland and every other amusement park is treated. So all he did was, I think, what libertarians want, which is an even playing field, as opposed to one corporation getting a special set of rules.
No, I'm not as concerned about a level playing field as much as I am concerned about more libertarian policies being enacted. Disney did have a special deal that they have their own fire department, they take care of their own roads, they have their own police force to a certain extent. Those kinds of things take away the burden on the taxpayer. Those benefits should have been passed on to their competitors in order to, if you want to level the playing field, it should have been leveled in a more limited government way rather than to punish them for their free speech, which I actually believe, just like I agreed with Citizens United, right? I don't agree with Bernie Sanders or the populist take on this, that, corporations don't have free speech. I do think that they have free speech, which again makes me a minority. But again, that's neither here nor there, because I think that the reality is I don't see DeSantis as a viable presidential candidate, and convince me otherwise. Why should I take away my support from a candidate like Vivek Ramaswamy, who shares my values and doesn't seem to have many authoritarian impulses, despite the fact he does have a few, and there have been things I've disagreed with him on publicly. But what's the advantage of supporting DeSantis, for example, when it seems really we're all really just fighting for second place?
Well, I think DeSantis is the only one not fighting for second place. I think Vivek is running to be, he's not running for president, he's running to be in a Trump cabinet or maybe for Congress or to be senator from Ohio or something like that. Just real quick on the Disney thing, let's just kind of agree to disagree on that, because we're not disagreeing on that there should be an even playing field. We're disagreeing on how the government can sort of operate to make, you're basically saying, okay, give them all the same benefits. I'm saying remove all the benefits. That's an interesting discussion which we should punt for another time. But we're both agreeing in the idea of equality for these companies. So let's just put that aside for a second. The Vivek thing's been kind of disappointing to me because, again, I think he's not, if you were running for president right now, you would be attacking Donald Trump. There's only one guy, you would be going after the number one guy. Why is it that the Trump people, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec, all the usual Trump people on Twitter, they all love Vivek? Why is it they love Vivek? It's not just because he's saying the things they want to hear. It's because they know there is some deal with Trump. Trump makes deals. Come on, we all know it. So if we're going to honestly assess this stuff, if they hate DeSantis, a guy that they all loved 2 years ago during COVID and thought was, he was the star, the future star. They now hate him because he's the only threat. Why is it that even in the last week, if you look at what the posts Trump puts out on Truth Social, why is he always going after DeSantis? He won't even say his real name, claiming that he has no chance and he's up by 50 points on this loser, but then will say nothing about Vivek and basically says nothing about Nikki and everything else. Like, you have to think like nobody in the history of politics, not just American politics.
But if that's true, that's smart, because I think if you are all competing for second place, and I know you disagree on that, then it would be wise for you to put yourself in a situation where you can affect the future of the Republican Party. And if Vivek is more libertarian,
you're talking about Vivek.
Vivek, right. And if he is in that situation doing that, then that's actually very intelligent. And I hope he succeeds in that because, this is the guy who's hanging out with Ron Paul. This is the guy who's out there, kicking with my people. He even went and met with the Libertarian Party of Iowa when he was there, which I think is pretty ballsy as somebody who's a Republican presidential candidate. But I guess my last question.
By the way, to be clear, though, I've been disappointed in the way he's campaigned. I think he's done a lot of cheap stuff on the debate stage. He's done some nice stuff too. But then, if your campaign slogan is going to be truth, then get out there and say, look, Trump's my guy. I'm up here because I'm brand building and I want a future. Like, that's basically what you're saying. So then if he's Mr. Truth, get out there and say it. Everyone knows there's only one guy who offers the competition to Trump. That's DeSantis. Look, maybe it doesn't happen. I do think he's going to win Iowa. Maybe he doesn't. And you know what? You can win Iowa and still lose. I mean, Ted Cruz won Iowa in 2016. But I think had Trump not been running, everyone knows, I've said it 3 times now, everyone knows that DeSantis is the best shot we've got as anything remotely close to Republicans or conservatives or limited government people or libertarians or anything else. He's the best shot we got, and I suppose we shall see. But these polls, I mean, I posted one of the things with Trafalgar yesterday, like 100,000 people were called, only 1,000 people responded. Does that seem like an honest poll to you?
No, I don't believe the polls, Dave, but I know I'm being selfish with your time, so I'll ask you one last question and then we'll let you go. But do you think that if DeSantis doesn't win Iowa, then that's it?
No, I think there's a couple week window there. Probably you got to get through 3 or 4 primaries. South Carolina is going to be really weird because Nikki was former governor there. There's some weird stuff to happen at the beginning. But this is where we all just get kind of lost in the nonsense. We've been fighting this thing out for a year. We're both sort of in agreement that the polls don't make much sense. It's like, okay, so if DeSantis wins Iowa by 1 point, does that give him the juice to get for 3 more? If he loses by 4, is that much worse than winning by 1? It's like, we got to let some of this stuff breathe. But I would say to your audience that obviously skews more, let's say, on the Trump side of this stuff. It's like, you don't have to also try to absolutely destroy the guy that we know is the best governor. He's taken his best shot here, and you may not like it. But you don't have to go, the Soros stuff is not true. The Paul Ryan stuff is not true. The Karl Rove stuff is not true. The COVID stuff is not true. I could keep doing this. And I think if everyone could just ease up the way I defended Donald Trump on Bill Maher's show on Friday. I completely called out the
Beautiful job, by the way, and everybody is giving you kudos for defending him on his remarks about the people on both sides. You're the.
Well, I don't see any of the Trump people giving me kudos for it.
Oh well, but here's the difference: is that even if some of my people are a little more pro-Trump, I will gladly go and vote for Ron DeSantis. So I think he has done a good job, and I do think that there are criticisms to be made. I think the campaign has been run poorly, and I think that there are some things that could be improved. But I would gladly vote for him. Dave, I know I'm running out of time with you, sir. Is there anything you'd like to plug or share with our audience before I let you go today?
Austin, I will reiterate what I said to you in the hallway at that Liberty Fest a couple of years ago. You are still on the short list of the same people that I know, so it's all good. We will do this anytime. And I started a tech company to free us from big tech. So RubinReport.locals.com. We merged Locals with Rumble, and I know you're on Rumble and you're on the front page right now. That's a beautiful thing. We are basically the last pipes of freedom on the internet. Elon's doing the best he can, but basically, I think Twitter or X and Rumble, like that's pretty much it. And we're going to keep building the best we can.
Dave, it's amazing what Rumble has done. It's completely transformed my small business. Me and my wife are just every day so thrilled at what Rumble has done to help us to grow, and we're grateful for you and what Rumble has done. So thank you very much for your time. Good luck out there in the campaign, and thank you for being so generous with your time, and Merry Christmas, Dave.
Merry Christmas, my friend. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Well, what did you think? Did you enjoy the show today? Thanks to Dave Rubin for that appearance yesterday. I'm glad you guys enjoy the conversation. I know people are like, well, why can't you just have him on more often? He can actually have conversations about these things without getting all riled up. It's hard to get a booking like Dave Rubin. You got to really get that out in advance. I mean, just think about what I'm doing. As soon as the show is over, I go and I voice a cartoon. Then I run home, cut the podcast, get the audio show up for you. Then I start working on apforlibertyshop.com to get you awesome merch like this. Now I have a machine gun ho ho ho, which you can get at apforlibertyshop.com. And then I'm trying to book guests, and I'm always trying to find new guests. I've got my regulars, of course, which are great, but I'm always trying to think, how can I get like bigger, better names for the Wake Up America show? Think about all I'm doing for you. What are you doing for me lately? Have you clicked the like button? Have you subscribed to the channel? Well, I think many of you probably have already, but not all of you have. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. No excuses. Dance for me, Austin, says Kermode Bear. No, God! No, God, glad you enjoyed the show, Bitchmobile. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow at the same time. If it's your very first time here watching the show today, we'd love to have you come back and join us. So make sure you do click that subscribe button before we leave today. Right here at rumble.com/AP4Liberty. We'll be streaming live again, same time tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central Time. We stream 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So make sure you come back and join us again tomorrow at the same time. Today's the day to visit AP4LibertyShop.com. Our custom metal signs are beautiful and would look great inside your garage, outside your house. Get yours today at AP4LibertyShop.com. That's AP, the number 4, AP4LibertyShop.com. Here's another great reason for you to visit AP4LibertyShop.com. We've got a great deal going on with our Killdozer models. I have 5 of them, and they're all 20% off. Okay? So if you've been wanting one of those Killdozers that Stephanie and I craft lovingly by hand, you can get it for 20% off. The discount will be in the cart, so you have to put it in your cart and go to the checkout in order to see the 20% discount in it. But it is 20% off. Get a custom metal sign, get yourself an awesome Killdozer, model, or you can get Killdozer shirts. And we also have a Smells Like Killdozer candle. And of course, a bag of delicious Founding Flavors coffee. Remember, Martha's Mint coffee is gone. When December is over, it's bye-bye Martha's Mint. So make sure that you grab a bag of that as well. Go to AP4LibertyShop.com. Help support the show. Get yourself some cool merchandise. Help us to spread the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.